Hello trainees, welcome back to our commerce education classes. In today's class, I will take up the interdisciplinary relationship between commerce education and other subjects, commerce and other subjects. In the previous class, we have studied about the importance of commerce education in life and curriculum, correct? There were 14 points. Then in curriculum I have told the different subjects that comes under there is commerce stream, and you have to explain regarding that. Now we will move on to that is the second chapter, that is the basis of commerce education, that is commerce education link between other subjects. Commerce education, I already told you, the education which is received or information that is received which helps a student or a person to go to the next level or to higher education, or there is a promotion in the business, that is higher level of business, correct? The knowledge, the information that might have been received maybe within four walls or outside, wherever the person works or wherever the person goes there, if he acquires any information which leads to increase in the knowledge regarding the business and other related activities of business, that is commerce education. You are very well aware of it, correct? Yes. Now, what is geography? Geography means the study about the surface features of the earth. Surface features in the sense climatic conditions, correct? Vegetation, animal vegetation, isn't it? Natural vegetation, everything will come, including rainfall, isn't it? Temperature of the land, all these will come into picture. So geography is directly related to commerce because commerce is nothing but production and distribution of goods and services to satisfy human wants. Geography includes, that is natural vegetation, climatic conditions, and that is different types of crops that are grown, isn't it? And the crops that are grown directly depends upon that is natural, that is features like rainfall, or there's fertility of the land, everything, the surface features, correct? If any failure of rain, you might have seen, that is during monsoon, if there is a weak rainfall, then there will not be much food production. Food crop cannot be produced, isn't it? So geography is directly related. If there is a failure of the rainfall or the changes in the climatic condition, then it will directly affect the production of food crops. As there is direct relation between the food crop growth and the distribution of food crop to the people. Distribution comes under commerce, and production, that is geography, that is natural surface features, isn't it? Topography of the land, climatic condition, everything that comes under geography. So we can say that geography and commerce are related to each other. So if there is a failure in the geographical features, surface features, then there will be failure in the production of crops and directly related to the distribution and satisfying the human wants. Economics, the other social science, it is a social science. Economics is a social science because it is not like a pure science like physics or chemistry, isn't it? It is the study of, that is resources and its availability, like scarce resources and management of the scarce resources. This comes under economics, that is ecos and nomos, isn't it? That is household management. The management of the house further leads to management of firm, industry, and the economy. So available resources, when you speak in terms of resources, there may be three types of resources. One is human resources, then financial resources and natural resources, raw materials. That is material resource, we call it as material resources, isn't it? So economics is directly related to commerce just because here also we deal with the firm's industry and the economy. Resources available for an industry or a firm, raw materials are very scarce. They are not available in abundance. Even if they are available in abundance, they are non-renewable sources, correct? Once it is completely exploited, like take the case of KGF, Kolar Gold Fields. Gold deposits are not there. Kudremukh Iron Ore Limited, iron ore is not there now because it is totally exhausted, isn't it? It was totally removed from the beneath the surface of the earth. So here economics is nothing but management of scarce resources. It tells us about how to manage the available scarce resources and to use it to the maximum extent without wasting the resources. So commerce is related to economics just because in case of firm or industry, there also we face the same problem, that is to manage the different resources like there's financial resources or material resources or human resources. We have to manage it because they are not available in abundance, or if they are available in abundance, they are not of the quality that is required for the industry or the firm. So we have to make sure that we will select the qualitative human resources. We will use the cheapest source of finance, isn't it? Finance is available, there is financial resources are available, but it should not be too costly because ultimately it will increase the cost of production, correct? So we have to use the best, that is cheapest financial resources which has a less, that is payout, or the interest burden should be less. Then material resources which are available in scarce, those should be managed. Optimum utilization should be made of the resources that is available with the organization. So economics and commerce are related to each other. Moving on to the mathematics. Of course, the ultimate results of the firm or industry are decided by preparing their balance sheet or statement of profit and loss. Thus we call it as profit and loss account, isn't it? When we have to prepare profit and loss account or balance sheet to know the financial position or the exact working condition or the capacity of the business, isn't it? We have to do a number of calculations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, percentage, all those things which are the sources of mathematics, isn't it? Which are the concepts of mathematics. So we have to use those things in commerce, or while finalizing the results of the financial results of a firm or industry. So mathematics and commerce are related to each other. Then moving on to, under mathematics there is one more, that is core mathematics or basic maths is there. We are studying at the PU level in most of the colleges, you might have seen. It is an option, isn't it? It's basic mathematics which will help the especially CA aspirants or some other, that is a professional courses. It is helpful for, so most of the students they opt for core mathematics or business mathematics, which is another again has a relation with the commerce. So commerce and core mathematics or mathematics are related to each other. Statistics deals with the formula, isn't it? Like we have to compare, for which we have to take the average, or we have to take mean, median, mode, isn't it? Deviations like range, first quartile, third quartile, isn't it? Or median we need to take. All these are the, that is gifts of statistics, and we use percentages, ratios, comparison, bar diagram, pie diagram, all these things which are the gifts of the statistics. So statistics and commerce are related to each other. So you have to prove in this way. To give some points, you don't write in like a paragraph, you just quote the numbers, points, just quote numbers, how they are related to each other, the formula we use, they are of there is a gifts of the economy, there is a statistics, isn't it? All these things you just jot down the points and just explain in the examination. So this is about the relationship of commerce with other subjects. Now moving on to there are some principles of teaching commerce. What are the principles that are there to while teaching the commerce? Let me analyze one by one. Principles of teaching commerce. Principles of teaching commerce. Okay. Under that, first one is principle of recognizing individual differences. Recognizing individual differences. Individual differences. That is, all human beings are not alike, all children are not alike. So when you enter a classroom, there may be gifted children and some of them may be, that is average, maybe remedial students, isn't it? Whose maybe IQ may be a bit low, isn't it? So there will be difference. Otherwise, all the students will get 100, right? Is there any need to teach or to conduct the examinations? No need. So this individual difference makes changes in the performance of the child. So what we have to do is, we have to while entering the classroom or while teaching, we have to make sure that we should have the preconceived notion that there will be individual difference between the children. And according to their individual differences, we have to identify who are the slow learners and who are the gifted children, and we have to engage remedial classes for those low performers or slow learners, and we have to give extra higher level knowledge to those gifted children so that we can get good result out of teaching. So this is one of the principles of teaching commerce. Second one is principle of activity. Second one is principle of activity. Now, it is very clearly the current NCF, that is a National Framework Curriculum, isn't it? Curriculum framework, it has recommended for introducing, that is activity method rather than the rote method. The mugging up and writing will not help the child will not develop in that case. What we have to do is, we have to go for that is a practical part. We should move on to the practical part rather than sitting inside the four walls and telling. The child gets bored. Child will not receive maximum information. When you go practically to the fields, excursions, field trips, and when you explain in the environment, then the child will receive the information more. Child will practically handle the things, and it will grab more information. So the teaching must be based on the activities, isn't it? The activities should be there along with that is a oral presentation. Then principle of learner centeredness. Learner centeredness. What do you mean by learner centeredness? Here we have to make the child as the central figure, central point. Then we have to facilitate the child to, that is learn more things. Here key person is the child, and depending upon the child's capacity to receive information, we have to deliver information, or we have to give or assign the work to the child, so that the child will understand it properly. If we design without making the child as a center point, then the syllabus may be a burden for the child, or maybe it is less than its capacity, isn't it? Like that it may happen. So we have to assess the child's performance, child's capacity, and depending upon that we have to make the child as a center point, and depending upon its capacity we have to develop the curriculum, and we have to do the teaching, right? Yes. Then principle of community centeredness. Principle of community centeredness. That is, the child is totally in touch with the society, because the child comes from the society, correct? So whatever the child learns in the society, their culture, their, that is area where it is, isn't it, and people residing in that area, depending upon that we have to develop the, that is curriculum, and again we have to teach in that way, so that the child will learn in the community. Whatever the aspiration of the society should be met. If it is not given, then what is the use of teaching? So the community should understand that yes, there is some benefit to us if we collect the information from this, then it will benefit the society. That should be created in the teaching, so that the community will like the that is a teaching method and everything. The next one is a principle of flexibility. It should be, the teaching should be flexible enough. The curriculum should be flexible enough to incorporate the changes that happens in the environment, because environment changes at every point of time. We have to adjust to the environment. We have no control over the environment. Let me ask a simple question. Do we have any control over the earthquake? It happens. We can predict that earthquake may happen, may here, maybe it's there. Exactly, that also we cannot find out. And can we stop that quake? No, we cannot. Tsunami, all of a sudden, isn't it, occurs. We cannot help. At the best, what we can do, we can adjust with the situation. Like we can go away from the seashore, isn't it? We can vacate our house, or we can go to another place which is very safe. That can be done, but can we stop that? No. So we have to adjust to the society, and we have to adjust to the environment. So the curriculum should be flexible enough to incorporate any changes that happens in the environment. That is another principle. Next one is a principle of forward outlook. Forward outlook. Forward outlook. That is, we have to look forward. That is, we have to think about the next level of information, or next level of knowledge, isn't it? There should be cognitive development. That is forward outlook, cognitive development in the child. When the child enters, then when the child comes out, there should be, you should see a positive difference, isn't it? Positive increase in the knowledge. That is, cognitive development should be there in the child. So that is called a forward outlook. We should think about the future, and then we have to give the education. Now if we give education which is related to the past, is of no use, or present may be useful today, tomorrow it may become outdated. So we have to plan for a longer period of time. That is a future need of the child that should be recognized, and on the basis of that we have to give, that is, information to the child. Then principle of, that is a criterion of difficulty, isn't it? Difficulty. That is, we have to make sure that the difficult things should be taught later, and we have to start from the easy to difficult. That should be the method. We have to teach the things which are known to the child first, then we have to teach those things which are unknown to the child. If we start from unknown itself, then it will become like that is doubtful for the child. It may not receive it, and it may not take interest to learn, isn't it? So whatever is known to the child, teach the child first, then teach it, the child will get interest, the students will get interest in the that is information, slowly move on to the this concept which is not known to the child, right? Then principle of concentric or spiral arrangement. Concentric, principle of concentric. What do you mean by concentric? We have to bring to the knowledge of the child that spirit, how to learn in good spirit, isn't it? That should be concentric, means here the child should be made as a center point, and we have to make sure that the child will receive information from all the sides, that is maybe from that is classroom, maybe from the environment, maybe from the society, isn't it? That is called concentric. Yes, and we have to make the concept into different pieces, and each part should be explained slowly one by one, so that the entire whole picture can be given to the child. So that is concentric. Next one is a principle of motivation. The child should get motivated. Principle of motivation. We have to make the child to, we have to appreciate the child, we have to pat on the back, isn't it? Then we have to make the child to do something, to invent something. When the result comes, the child will be very happy and gets motivated to do next level work. Like that, such activity should be given to the child, which helps the child to get motivated, right? Yes. Then principle of that is vividness. Principle of vividness. Vividness means varieties. If you listen to the same song every day, how do you feel? Bored, isn't it? You will hate that song later. Though it is a very good song, you will hate, because you heard it for a number of times. You view the same movie once, twice, thrice, then gets bored. Same way the child. So you have to understand the child psychology, and you have to bring that is changes in the teaching method, or that is different activities that you are going to do, isn't it? Every day there's something should be new to the child, so that a child will get interest to learn the new things. So that is called vividness or varieties, isn't it? Principle of integration. Integration in the sense the child should understand every concept, and everything should be coordinated. The curriculum should be in such a way that it is coordinated curriculum, that is different aspects will be thrown towards the child, and there should be linkage between all the that is information that is given by you, so that the child will have a more that is a bundle of knowledge, isn't it? So that is another principle to be noted. Then principle of conservation, that is while transmitting the traditions, isn't it? We have to make sure that we have to along with that is principle of integration, we have to make sure that there will be conservation. Conservation in the sense the child will retain the information given by you. The child will preserve or will remember, isn't it? Conservation means remembering the things or information that is given by you. The child will remember it in a better way only when you go for the activity method, or practically when you explain to the child by doing experiments and all these things, then child can retain the information that is received by the child. Then next one is principle of flexibility. There should be flexibility while that is teaching. The child should understand each and every items, or we have to make sure that there is chance for adjusting something, isn't it? So it should be flexible enough. It should not be like a burden on the child. It should be made as very flexible. At maybe the child is interested to learn in the evening, well, let us teach the child in the evening, and like that likewise. So which makes the child to understand in a better way and to grab more information. Then principle of creativity. It should be creative enough, isn't it? That is, the child should have interest to learn new things. The child should be given to do more, that is, experiments, to do research, to do something, isn't it? Then, so that new outcome when comes, the child will be motivated to, that is, learn, and there will be the creativity of the child can also be seen in the, that is, a result. So that is another principle of teaching. And even the facilitator should teach in a creative manner. It should not be the same thing, that is a rote method. No, nothing. We have to be creative one. We have to do some experiment on the child, and we have to make sure that the child will not get distracted from its very attention, right? Yes. Then principle of correlation, that is correlating all the aspects, whatever is taught, that should be correlated to each other, isn't it? Otherwise it is a waste of our time and energy. Everything should be correlated, and we have to make sure that child will keep that, will conserve or preserve that information in its mind. So with this, your principles of teaching comes to an end. I will take up, that is, latest trends in teaching of commerce in the next class. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.